Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Joining me, as always, are my co-hosts from the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast, Rebellious D and Double OT, Terrific Trav. Guys, the gang is back together for another brand new episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And how are you guys doing today?
Bro, you talking about, not ain't Rebellious D, that's Rebellious Daddy.
No. Are we scissoring?
No, we're not scissoring.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where you're going with that. Guys, it's good to see you.
Yeah,
it's good to see. I mean, we know
we've seen a lot more of you today than normal.
Yeah, you know, because D,
don't make me get the bathroom.
Was everywhere. You know, D was in the Multiverse of Madness, and
oh Lord,
there you have Rebellious D, No Way Home. It's just like,
just stop, guys. You're killing me.
No, but you know, joining us today, we have somebody that has worked on like one of our favorite Netflix series over the last couple of years. It's been highly praised, highly regarded, and it has a sequel coming out, and that is Castlevania, and that is Mr. Adam Deats. Adam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
I'm peachy.
That's right. Yeah.
He stole it. He stole it.
I don't. Look, D got me off my game. I don't remember what D says now. I tried to take his say.
Ready to
rock.
No, I already said it, Trav. Now you got to say something else. You can say one of my lines.
With no paddle, Trav. Sorry.
You can say one of my lines. I already said. I said it was good.
I'm
everybody.
A little bit of a professional wrestler myself.
There you go. There you go. But yeah. Let's go ahead and get into this interview. But before we do that, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, you hit that bell button, so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And D, like you say every time,
as always, episodes of the podcast found in the description. Like, follow, subscribe to the channel, and thank you all for watching or listening.
And Trav, what is your tip of the day?
Hey, tip of the day is when you come up in the Zoom chat with your boys, give them a heads up if you're gonna have that top button unbuttoned. You know what I mean?
Hey,
does this have to be a thing tonight?
Hey, no, it's a thing. You made it a thing.
Yeah.
First the glasses were gone, now the button's gone. I don't know what's going to be next.
Hey, the turtleneck's what's going to be next.
Hey, Trav, you got to remember, man. Sometimes on the side, D is a reverend.
That's
Reverend
right.
D.
No.
I forgot. You could catch D every Tuesday on Tubi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right. Well said. You got me.
Okay. Well, Adam, this is what we do up here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And as you can see from how we started this interview, it's going to be one hell of a ride. So the first question that I ask each and every guest that we have up here is, what is your origin story? Every hero or villain has one. So tell everybody who you are.
God, what is my origin story? So I grew up, as you might tell based on my Twitter account and what I do, I was like a pretty aggressive nerd growing up. I was watching a lot of anime and I was playing a lot of video games. And I got really, really big into the fighting game community when I was really young. Between like the ages of 18 to 28, I was playing fighting games in Texas a whole lot, like Street Fighter, Tekken, Guilty Gear, etc. And I was a big part of the tournament scene. And so I was traveling between Texas, California, New York, here and there to go play in tournaments and whatnot. And I was very mediocre at it, but I still did it.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, competing's competing, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn right.
And so that by total happenstance turned into me going into video game strategy guide work, where I worked for Brady Games for a while. Yeah, and I did fighting game books for them, like the official books for a while, and tried to up the game of fighting game books for several years.
Wow.
And this is a weird, I'm bringing this up because my life's had a really weird trajectory in that, like, I was going to art school at the time. I was just going to community college here in town, and I was studying animation there. And the whole fighting game book thing fell into my lap. And so I kind of put art aside for several years. And I was really focused on the books. But then the guidebook industry just totally collapsed.
Right.
Yeah.
And my brother Sam, he was already working at Powerhouse at the time, and he was working there for just a couple of years, I think. And Powerhouse Animation is the studio I work at currently.
Right.
And so I was lamenting to him almost weekly as like, this industry's dying. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And he was basically kind of coercing me to kind of come back to art and animation. He was like, I think you should try to apply at my studio at some point. We might have some openings in a few weeks. So I went ahead and did that and ended up getting an entry-level position there. And I guess the rest is history. I ended up working my way up through the ranks there slowly. And as of today, I've been there for 13 years. So
I was gonna,
awesome. Congratulations.
I was going to ask what
Congrats.
about year that was when you came in. So
long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I want to pause right here, Adam.
Yep.
We can go further, but what are your fighting games of choice?
Man.
Hey, I got to look out, man. Street Fighter 4 is out. I got to watch my back.
Street Fighter 4 is actually my favorite, one of my favorite fighting games of all
Street
time.
Fighter 6, excuse me.
Yeah. And I was in the closed beta for that too, actually.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, were
Hell
you one of
yeah.
those people that created a monster? For like those
No,
creations was wild.
No, I didn't create a monster. I just made a very typical looking character, to be honest with you.
Nice.
I was really boring because I just wanted to get into the game as fast as
Yeah.
possible.
Right,
Damn
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I know Banks was always big into the making you on wrestler stuff, so I could see him spending a majority of his time on Street
would.
Fighter 6 making.
Yo, so look,
Mhm.
right? Since we're here, story time, okay? So, and because we are in preparation for the Great Turkey War that's coming
That's
amongst us, it was Thanksgiving. I was in high school. It was either high school or middle school. But anyway, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain had just came out on the PS2, right? And we went up to my aunt and uncle's house and we went to Blockbuster. And my uncle, he rented that game for me and my older cousin. And then he had rented True Crime, Streets of LA
I remember that. Yep.
for
Mhm.
my brother and my younger cousin, right? So my aunt, she heard cussing and gunshots and whatnot. And so she took True Crimes away from him, right? And I had spent an entire day creating my character in the WWE video game. And then as soon as I was about to start playing, the loading screen had popped up and there was a chick in a bikini. And my aunt was just like,
Uh-oh.
"Oh, you're not going to have that up in my house."
you're
And
done.
I was just so pissed because I
Damn.
spent a whole day creating the
Yeah.
character and it just sucked. But no, it sucked. But that,
I love
you
the
know,
stories.
Trav had brought up the creation thing. I like for real. Like I used to spend hours creating all my friends. I remember I created D in one of the SmackDown games, and I put him in a trench coat. And he was like, "Banks, why you got me looking like Michael?"
It's true.
This is the kind of stuff I've been dealing with this for a long time. It's a special kind of trauma.
Yeah, but no,
I did love that you
go
brought up Guilty Gear though, because I feel like that's the fighting game that only fighting game nerds. That and like
Yeah.
Blaze Blue. Like
Yep,
those
very
are
much
two
so.
fighting games that really only fighting game
technical.
nerds
Very
are
technical.
really into. But their soundtracks are so fire.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's so
of
good.
course.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I love Guilty Gear during the Plus R era was my favorite
Mhm.
because Kai was good in that game. So I played a lot of that game.
Well, before we move on from Guilty Gear, I did just want to drop a plug because we interviewed Evan Michael Lee, who
Right.
voices one of the characters in Guilty Gear. You can check out that episode either on the podcast or if you want to listen to it on, not listen to it, but watch it on YouTube, or you could listen to it. You know, do whatever you want to do. But I wanted to piggyback off of something that you had said, Adam, about the Brady game strategy guides. When I was a kid, I used to see the strategy guys, and I was just like, man, the people that are working on these strategy guides, they have to be incredible, because I would read that they had people that were going to the fighting game circuit, and like they were the ones doing the combos and writing them in the strategy guide. So if we can just dive a little bit into that, like how was it, working on strategy guides? Like, did it take a long time to get the information? Well, yeah, talk about that a little bit.
It was really hectic. The turnaround was terrible. We usually had 1 to 3 months to write one entire book, which is absurd usually. And what happens is typically is that the company who made the game would have to supply an early version of the game.
That's what I
for
was
you.
going to ask you.
Yeah, and so that game it's a crapshoot whether that game's even done when you get it, right? So, and you don't know. Usually, it's in a pretty good state. Sometimes not so much. I worked on to bring it back to wrestling for a second. I worked on WWE Day of Reckoning 2,
Nice.
and that game was not ready, not done when I got it. I remember writing there was like a last boss fight with Triple H at the very end.
I remember.
It was hella hard when I first got it. And when I wrote the guide for it, it took me a long time to like get it into a good spot. And then I got a new version of the game and it was super easy after that. And everything I wrote had to get thrown out.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's a lot of work. Yeah.
I always wondered if y'all got it early because, like, they would sell the game and the strategy guide was ready. Back in the. Now these kids don't know about that. They go on the internet and they get like a little rundown or a gameplay through of somebody on Twitch or something.
Oh yeah, but YouTube and GameFAQs ruins the guide.
Especially GameFAQs.
Absolutely.
I remember GameFAQs. Yeah.
Because once I got on the GameFAQs, honestly, I would go to school. My the computer teacher was also the wrestling coach, so he would let me print stuff. And bro, I would just, whenever I got stuck on something, I'd go to GameFAQs, just print it, because no way my parents were about to spend $40-$50 on a strategy guide.
Well, that's the funny thing about it, was that like most of their revenue, like 90% of it it's like the mom and pops, the grandmas, they would go into the GameStop, they would buy a game for their kid for their birthday or something, and then they would get the book as an accompaniment to that.
Yeah, right? That's how I would get that's how I got Pokemon.
Yeah, stuff like Zelda.
Now you want to know what's crazy? It's like the older that I had got, when I would buy a game and it had a strategy guide, I would just get the strategy guide as a collectible. I think the last strategy guide that I had purchased was Final Fantasy X-2.
I was going to bring that up because they started making like the collector edition strategy guides with all the extra artwork and
and they were opening some sales through that stuff, right? Like there are certain collectors, people that really wanted those kinds of books, so that was helping a lot, and so that's why they were able to survive for a little bit longer even after Game FAQs was out. But like the sort of like nail in the coffin was, YouTube was also doing kind of playthroughs, right? And that kind of killed it.
And and
print is dead now too. Print is dead, and they couldn't figure out how to monetize it online.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising to see that some of the video game magazines that are still around, like Game Informer, is still around.
Yeah.
But I mean, you think about all the magazines back in the day, Tips and Tricks, Game Pro. I remember IGN had a magazine. So I wanted to ask you, like, what strategy guide was your favorite one that you worked on?
Man, it's so funny. My two favorite books are the two Castlevania books I did. I did the book for Castlevania Portrait of Ruin and then Order of Ecclesia. And they were really fun because, like, when me and my co-writer Joe Epstein wrote those books, we knew those games really well, and so we were able to jump in them and kind of knock them out pretty fast, and they were low stress typically, because like the Castlevania games had a pretty like solid pattern of gameplay for a while, like the Igarashi sort of like Metroidvania era of Castlevania games. So it was pretty easy to jump in and just get that stuff knocked out.
Versus when they started doing the 3D.
But even those, like, I would say scale wise, they weren't too bad. They weren't like, they didn't have like, Castlevania are always really nice in that they have hidden stuff, and they're fairly large, but they're not like Final Fantasy large. So writing a book for them is not hectic, really. And I really enjoyed the book for like, I did the Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions book. I really enjoyed.
Love that game.
For the fighting game books, the one I'm most known for is the Anniversary Collection one, which I worked on primarily the Street Fighter 3 Third Strike section. And that kind of started sort of like I really tried to start like frame data being a common real thing that should be included in every fighting game book. That was the thing that we tried to normalize in the guidebook industry, and that was sort of the starting point for that.
Nice. D, me and Trav, we've been asking a bunch of stuff.
I know. That's why I'm trying like not to go crazy. I'm like, man, let me let D ask something.
You just gotta go with the flow, guys. Come on,
bro. Hey, Trav,
don't be rookies.
D was about to hit the Clark Kent and rip the shirt.
All right, guys. All right, that's enough.
I'm sorry, D.
Okay, so Adam, gotta ask, favorite Castlevania. Hang on, back up. Have you played a lot of the Castlevania games growing up?
Yeah. I've played every Castlevania game to date that is not, there's a couple that are missing from the catalog. So it was like, I'm trying to remember which Game Boy Color one it was, and I always forget the name of it. But one of the Game Boy Color ones, I think the one with Sonia Belmont, I have not played. And then I didn't play Lords of Shadow 2. And then I haven't played Haunted Castle, which is like the I might be getting this a little bit wrong. I think it's the arcade version of Castlevania, the sort of first proto version of Castlevania. And so those are the ones I haven't played. But every other one I've played. As a kid, I hadn't actually played all of them, but I played a lot of them though. Like I was a big fan of Castlevania Bloodlines when I was growing up. I thought that was awesome. I played Castlevania 2 and 3 just like everybody else, and definitely got locked up in Castlevania 2 when they told you to crash in front of a mountain to use the tornado to take you to Dracula's castle. You know, a lot of esoteric stuff in that game. Yeah, a lot of them. I like the obvious turning point was Symphony of the Night, though. That's
for sure, man.
Oh yeah. Now,
go ahead, D.
I thought you want to go again, or
man. I was just gonna say because he mentioned Symphony of the Night. He mentioned Symphony of the Night, and like that was the first one that I played too. And I was such an idiot for selling that game. I traded that game into GameStop so I could get
the American version, right?
Yeah,
I traded it. It's actually hard to come by.
Bro, I traded it in at GameStop, and I got Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2. And I remember when I was trading it in, the guy was just like, "Are you sure you want to trade this in?" I was like, "Yeah, I already beat it." You know, I wasn't even thinking because I was young. And then another thing is, like, my cousin actually had 2 copies of it, so I was just like, "Well, if I trade in this game." He's not even a fan of Castlevania, but of course he couldn't find the other copy. But
man, what was so frustrating about the old Dragon Ball fighting games is they are such baits because they weren't that good. A lot of them.
Weren't.
Like, we imported like all the Super Famicom like Dragon Ball games, and only Hyper Dimension was decent.
Yes.
And then like Arc System Works really helped Dragon Ball out with like the recent game a whole lot.
But
yeah, same situation. I sold a bunch of games to get the Super Famicom Dragon Ball games, and none of them were good.
And that's the thing that sucked back in the day. I can't remember. And I love it because we all love fighting games here, but we really don't get to talk about it that much. So I'm glad that we're diving into this. But
I did this.
no, it's cool. But I remember when they did the re-release of Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22. Right. And I had played the imported one back in the day because they used to have it up at one of the flea markets. But when they did the re-release was horrible. It was only $20. I want to say at the time, like the PS2 was coming to the end. And remember when they were still putting PlayStation games out, even though like nobody really had a PlayStation anymore. But I remember I got that game and I was like, "Yo, this game is so horrible." And just to agree with you, it's like a lot of anime games back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Even like some of the ones that still come out now, like they're not that good. They're just cash grabs. They know that people are going to get them. Like I love My Hero Academia, but I still haven't purchased a My Hero Academia video game because it's just like they're just cash grabs. Like this is the same stuff.
Also, and you already know my biggest complaint about anime games is I'm playing through what I've already read and what I've already seen. I don't need to play through the story that I've already seen and watched. Give me something new to play through with those characters.
Yeah, do a side story or something.
Give me something, man. I don't want to play through the same arcs that I've just watched on TV, and that's just one of my biggest gripe with anime games for me personally.
I feel like those are just geared towards a much younger audience that doesn't know any better. There's no way any of us would be caught playing that kind of stuff now.
Yeah, especially because we have lives. I mean, not saying that we didn't have lives back then, but no, it was just wild. I remember I bought Budokai Tenkaichi 1, 2, and 3 just to play the same story over and over, and I'm just like, oh, I wonder what they're going to change in the story this time, and they really didn't do nothing. And they got my $50
every time. Yeah.
So, Adam, you being this huge Castlevania game now, I'm assuming this is how you I know you said you moved up in the ranks, but them moving you to being the director of the show, is this something they knew like you were super knowledgeable in?
No, like a lot of it was happenstance, right? So, the property came by the studio because Kevin Coldy, our showrunner, was trying to pitch the show around again because what happened originally with that property or that show was that it was written already a while back, at least the first like 4 episodes were, and they were trying to make a direct-to-DVD show or movie. And then the direct-to-DVD market crashed.
Right.
There's a lot of that going on in these stories, but like that market crashed. Then the property kind of died, or the show kind of died. And so what happened was that during the Netflix streaming era, a lot of stuff that had kind of died off previously, like adult animation, for example, which never really had a strong heyday in the US. It had it in bits and pieces in film, like the Ralph Bakshi stuff and whatnot. There was a little bit of it here and there, but most of it was there's not a lot of adult animation in the US that wasn't anime, right? Like, or traditional anime. And so like what happened is that the Netflix era of streaming kind of changed that, and people were scouting around for new stuff. And so Kevin Coley, as far as I'm aware, started pitching it around to studios to see if anybody would be interested in it. When it came to Powerhouse, again, just by total happenstance and got lucky. I remember our CEO, our owner, he does this thing called the 400 every week, where it just kind of gives a company update about what's the murmurings in the company and what's going on.
Yeah.
And he had stated that he was like, yeah, this Castlevania, there's like some guys trying to pitch a Castlevania TV show right now. So we're looking at that. And I gasped so audibly that the whole room froze up. I was like, what the hell? So right after that meeting, I immediately went up to him. I just kind of like beeline to him. And I was like, you have to get that. I want to be involved with that, So Sam Deats, my brother.
Right.
He talked with Brad a lot about that and kind of did some concepts for it and stuff, and I ended up talking with Kevin Coley, and he's the one that actually kind of created the pitch deck for it to kind of sell it to Netflix, and that's how it kind of all started. Me coming on was just after that, because I was like being real pushy in the background going, I love Castlevania, guys, I really think I should be involved with this. And because of my expertise in post-production and editing, it was a pretty good, easy fit after that.
And you can tell that kind of the people involved in it, fans of the franchise, even though, controversial changes of certain characters and different storylines and stuff. But I mean, any sort you get an adaptation, that's literally the word, adaptation, So that always gets a little bit more heat than it should, because we're adapting something. You're never going to get what it really is. But you could just tell that everybody's passionate about the project. And when those first 4 came out, it was a game changer for adult animation. Like you said, that's not Japanese animation coming from overseas.
And something that I like about that is even though like it's not like your traditional anime, like fans, they consider Castlevania an anime, just like the Boondocks, Avatar, series like that. Like people just like, nah, it's anime. It's like, okay, even the original Teen Titans, people used to consider that anime, even though it wasn't. So
the unending the Twitter conversation of whether it's anime or not, which is funny because like ultimately Sam and I just don't care about that conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if they versus dub.
Yeah, if they think we're anime, great. If they don't, that's also okay. I don't care. Not important to me.
Yeah, it's all the same tree, animation, whether it's cartoon, anime, whatever.
Yeah, it's anime influenced, obviously. We agree with that sentiment for sure.
Yeah. D?
Now, what was it like? I don't know how much you had to do with like not necessarily the casting, but you had a great lineup, the voices and all that stuff. What was it like overseeing this kind of project, I guess, and meeting these people? What was that like, that experience?
Oh God. Well, our casting director, Meredith Lane, is wonderful. She's an incredible lady and does amazing work in terms of casting. And I can't tell you how fortunate we are to have her on board, because she's really elevated the project. Like, I don't know if it would be the same if we didn't have folks like Richard Armitage, and Alejandro Reynoso and Ade. They're just all amazing voice actors. And so like the fact that we got Malcolm McDowell for Death, it still blows my mind every single day. I can't believe it. But for me, it was just kind of like shell shock. Like, all of this stuff is new to me. Like, especially that first season, we're not used to dealing with like big stars like this. And the reality is that once you get them into the booth, they're all just really humble, great people who just want to do a great job. And so despite being a little bit shell shocked or star shocked, I should say, like at the end of the day, it became comfortable really fast.
Hell yeah.
So something that I wanted to ask, because something that we always talk about when it comes to either TV series on Netflix or movies on Netflix. Well, especially TV series. It's just like everybody may enjoy the first season and then it gets canceled. Like Netflix doesn't pick it up. Like for Castlevania, like did you guys already know that it was just going to go ahead and get greenlit for a second season, or did you have to wait to hear back from Netflix to give y'all the green light that all right, go ahead and start with season 2?
We had no idea. Yeah, that first 4 was testing grounds basically. And so when we released it, as you might expect, we were terrified. We were really scared because like as an artist, and I think all of y'all know this too, your own work, you're always very hypercritical of sometimes, you know, and for me, you know, everybody, we were all like really hypercritical. We were, oh no, did we screw this up? Did we mess it up? You know, and luckily it came out and that wasn't the case, you know, and so you know, if you can imagine when it first dropped, that first month was super scary because we didn't quite know if we were going to keep going after that, and then we found out pretty quickly after that yes, we were going to be.
Nice.
So, now Adam, I wanted to ask you brought up being an artist yourself. When it came to doing these scenes and things, did you get to like kind of watch these people work on these things, or like scene by scene? Because I mean, the artwork is very clean. It's one of my favorite parts of this thing.
So like that's kind of a complicated question because so like the way our process works is that we do the storyboards here in Austin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like, you know, 80% of the animation goes overseas to our partner in South Korea. Mm-hmm. And so we don't get to see everything they're doing. Usually we see bits and pieces of drawings during review periods and such. Okay. However, we also do a lot of internal animation too for the kind of important moments. Mm-hmm. And so that stuff we have a lot of control over, you know, like we have control over the design work, the storyboards, all of that stuff. The animation is kind of a mixed bag. You know, most of it goes overseas and then we have to revise it after it comes in. Yeah. But then the stuff we animate internally, like the Cyclops fight in episode 2 or episode 3, sorry. And then, the nicer looking stuff, the Alucard versus Dracula in season 2, etc. That was all in-house. Nice. So that stuff we can watch very closely. And like some of those the animators that we have, I'm an artist and I am an animator, but like I've been in leadership roles and mostly post-production roles for a lot of time in editing too. And so I don't even get to animate or draw, you know, I just don't. And the artists, all the artists that we have, the animators, the designers, they're all better than me and they're all incredible. They all do wonderful work. It wouldn't be the same show without them. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, the artwork is very clean. Well, I guess what I want to ask is, do you get to like look in, or do you ever like being an artist, do you find it like hard to kind of like when you, I guess, walk by and see them working on it, do you ever stop and kind of just marvel in it, I guess is what I'm asking? You know? Like because of work from home, I don't get to do that like I used to, but before work from home, we would always walk around the studio and just say hi to people and just check out what they're doing. And that was always really fun. Unfortunately, there's a lot less of that these days. Oh, hey, you're right. I'm sitting in a box right now. Yeah, exactly. Hey, we're all kind of in boxes these days. Yes.
Now, let me ask you, because when this initially comes out, it's just the 4 episodes, and then we get into season 2, and, we start getting more episodes, and season 3, we're getting even more episodes. Was that ever a concern over there? Of okay, now because the bar's getting raised, right?
Yes.
Because when that first season dropped for us 3, we were like, "Yo, this is legitimately a game changer for quote unquote American animation." Like, we thought American animation was gonna take off, So yeah, and y'all were just kind of like the start of that. What was that like? Like, okay, now we got to deliver not even quality on the same level, but more, and that's always harder to do.
It was horrifying, like, and it's just like, and that's like sort of like the common theme for that first season, and then our shift into season 2. Because by season 3 and 4, we had a groove and we knew what we were doing. Right. But like season 4 to 2 was just a learning experience, and it was just all scary and difficult because season 1 we had never done, which was like loosely speaking about 2 hours of. Yeah, 2 hours of content, basically. Yeah. A little under that. Which is already something we hadn't done before in animation, because previously we did video game trailers and such. And so,
Cutscenes and
yeah, exactly.
stuff like
And it's
that.
just and it's usually not to that level, right?
Right.
So we did season 1. It was really difficult. We didn't know what we were doing, so we had to learn stuff on the fly. We figured some stuff out, and then we had to figure out, well, we got to do double this. And that was really hard. It wasn't easy, but it largely had to do with logistics, like having the funds to bring more people on to cover every little corner, was the biggest part of it, and then becoming even more organized than we were before. So by season three was probably our easiest season, like in terms of just production, because we knew what we were doing, we knew what we were in for. We even had two additional episodes, and it wasn't so bad because we kind of knew what we were doing. We had a groove and we had the staff to do it, so it was much better.
Nice. So now I wanted to ask you, like, watching Castlevania as a fan, what were some of your favorite moments from the series?
My single favorite moments is still probably episode 7 of season 2 as a whole. Like, I still go back to that episode and I think this is probably the best thing that we've done. And I feel really good about it. I think it's a really good, concise, emotionally driven episode that still looks good. The end of episode 8 of season 2 with Alucard crying in his room is probably my second favorite moment. I just think that emotionally it has all the weight that it needed to have, and I'm so glad that we were able to make that happen the way we did. Fun fact, that sequence being put at the very end of that episode was originally not how it ended. The way it ended originally was that sequence and then Trevor and Sypha riding off into the sunset were swapped. And so the episode ended on a happier note where Trevor and Sypha rode off into the distance and everything was fine. And Kevin Coley had a thought of swapping those, so we ended on a grimmer moment to kind of hold on to. And that was a really, really important decision, I think, because I think it really kept the audience really invested for the next season. And I love a lot of our kind of penultimate episodes, but I think that episode 6 of season 3 was really good too. It was sort of like a dark, sort of brooding episode about mostly theme and mood. And I think about that really fondly. And then episode 9 of season 4, Death and Trevor.
Oh yeah,
and then seeing the trio finally get back together.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to ask, Adam, what did you do, or do you have this is a huge your first big project. What did you do to celebrate, capping it off, and
man, it's so funny. It's funny and not funny. That season 4 was a really, really hard season for us because it happened during COVID. And there was lots of change happening. There's the Texas freeze happened mid-season. And so we basically, a lot of people really got hurt. They were kind of driven out of their homes. There was a lot of difficult stuff that happened that year. And so I think the most depressing thing for me is that after season 4 ended, there wasn't much of a celebration, and it was largely because COVID, and we were still afraid of COVID. Right. And it's I would say that that's probably the saddest part that I've had of the show, is that we couldn't celebrate this big accomplishment that we had.
Y'all had one hell of a ride.
I want to go back to you talking about switching that ending with Alucard crying at the end. Is that something that, obviously Kevin's calling the shots because he's the producer, but is that something that you got to talk to Warren Ellis about, or I don't know, necessarily get his permission, but get his blessing? Or
we did, okay, because he was included in all the email threads, so it was always a discussion between me, Sam, Kevin, Warren Ellis. There was always some sort of batting forth of ideas, and that change pretty instantly was really intriguing. We were like, you know what? Maybe you're right about this. We should try this pretty quickly. Yeah.
So my follow-up to that is, when did y'all know where this was going to end? How far in advance did Warren know as far as what he had envisioned in his head? Because you can only go so far much with whatever Netflix is going to pay for y'all to do, but
I'm pretty sure we knew that it was going to be 4 seasons from the get-go, like pretty early on, because that was always the murmurings, and there was always, generally speaking, a plan. Like, were all of the working parts exactly as it played at the end of it? No, it was a little bit. Some things changed here and there, but for the most part, we knew where this was going.
So I want to ask you now, who was one of your favorite characters on the show?
So I think my favorite character is Isaac.
Great choice.
I think
that's ours too.
That's ours.
Good. I think that speaks to the testament of what we did with that character, because that was, in a lot of ways, it was the riskiest change to make from the game.
I was going to ask you about that. We didn't know about that till Adi came on the podcast.
Yeah, Adi came up here and told us. I didn't know because I never played that game.
Yeah.
After we interviewed him, I went and looked it up, and I was like, wow.
There's a big character change. And, it's with a lot of vampire shows, there's a lot of pale characters in the shows. And we needed more characters that were not just white, it's just, and not just that though, but like Isaac and Hector they're not that well known. Like Curse of Darkness just wasn't played that often. And so, we didn't want to change it. We didn't want to irrevocably change it so that everything was totally unrecognizable. So like their roles are pretty similar, Hector's fairly similar. But we felt like that was a good place to at least make some alterations. And there were that change wasn't just like one person making a call. It was like a lot of us just kind of talking it through and then doing a lot of different design changes, because there was versions of Isaac where he had a red mohawk, and ultimately
I can't even imagine that in my head, based on his personality.
Well, I mean, bro, like after we had interviewed Adi, I had looked up the characters, and it's just like, he had the red hair, but I mean, I feel like a lot of those 3D Castlevania games, like a lot of people didn't really play them. Like they played the more traditional, the Metroidvania, side-scrolling ones,
Yeah. I just think that even though it was like a risky change, I think that that character is just wonderful. Ade, amazing actor too, and played the role so good. So I think he's overall my favorite character, but it's hard because I think there's a lot of great characters in the show that are really memorable to me, and I will always remember. I think Alucard is sort of the rock of the show in a lot of ways, because he's always going to be there, and Dracula, voiced by Graham McTavish. I don't know if the show would have been the same if he hadn't been the voice actor. Some of those performances, I think the whole show rode on him being able to sell that stuff, especially in season 2. So I don't know, a lot of great characters.
A lot of I would definitely say when me and Banks talk about this, sometimes it's like the character development across the whole show and the payoffs it's just well done. Well written and stuff like that. It's a really enjoyable project.
Thank you.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Trav.
I was gonna roll into something else. So unless
go for it, Trav.
No, it's probably the same thing that I was gonna roll into. So I guess we're gonna roll into the deep together.
Okay, so I do want to roll into this prequel that or not prequel, sorry, sequel. But what's it called? Yeah,
and we were both going the same direction.
But
right?
What I want to ask before we even dive into that is kind of the Netflix blunder of the announcement and them kind of saying he was the grandson and getting all that crazy weird backlash, and Netflix was like, "Yeah, we messed up, we're sorry," and were y'all privy to this even announcement of what was going on, and how did you feel when that whole situation happened? Because it was a weird thing.
I didn't necessarily care very much really about in terms of the mess up. We didn't know that they were going to announce it in that particular way. We didn't get documents before, and we knew that announcements were happening that day. Right. And we did that little stream or whatever with Kevin Coldy and Sam. To do the announcement, but we didn't know that they were going to announce it in that way. And at the end of the day, you just kind of roll your eyes and move on, because it's ultimately not that big of a deal.
It's not.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to remember it, after the series is done 5 years from now. But it's just a funny situation.
The only thing I can say is it wasn't our fault. We didn't do
right.
It wasn't my fault. Yeah. But no, yeah, I wanted to, talk about that series as well, because when Castlevania came to an end, I was just like, there's just so many more stories that they can tell with the series. And I'm glad that it was announced that it was getting a sequel. And, we've seen the teaser trailer for it and whatnot. And, I don't want to ask the question of like, well, what can you tell us about the series? Because I don't
obviously
want you to
it's nothing.
Yeah, I don't want you, yeah, exactly. But I do want to ask you, to our listeners and our viewers that are watching this and listening to it, what can you tell them that will make them get hyped for the series?
God, that's the question, because like the reality is that anything I say is going to get interpreted very badly, and or read into too much, and I can just say that like,
just hit him with the stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Play the theme song from the series, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, I'll just say this is that so much the same crew is involved with this show. So if anybody who's worried about like it's going to be just totally removed from what it was before, that's just simply not the case. So much of the same key staff members are here. They're back again, and we're all working very, very hard on it, and it's going well. Like, I'm not going to say much about like where we are in production, but we're really far into production right now, and we've sent some stuff out to Netflix, and they really, really enjoyed it. So hopefully that means all of you will too.
So let me ask you this, because like Banks was just saying, and I know Dee has talked about this too with another show that we all enjoy, Dota, where there's so many stories you can just tell. There's so many characters. There's so many side stories that you can tell. We had the Devil May Cry rumors, and kind of being in the same universe, and you can do all this cool crossover stuff. Was that something that would even excite you to even do something like that, taking these two iconic vampire spooky kind of franchises and creating own worlds that kind of crossover?
I don't think so. No, I don't like crossovers just for the sake of crossovers. It's just never really like inspired me, to be honest with you. And we're not really involved with that show. So whatever that is, I don't know what it is. But like for me, I like stories that tell concise stories with a beginning and an end, and that are thematically driven. And so I love video games, and if someone plopped a Street Fighter series on my lap, I would be extremely happy about that, obviously.
Freedom of mind.
Yeah, but I'd be happy to work on anything that I think is interesting storytelling wise. So,
well, let me piggyback off of Trav's question, and I want to ask you:
get on it.
If there was another video game franchise that you could pick up right now and do a series for, what would it be? And you can't use Street Fighter.
Oh, that's rude. Metroid, actually.
Oh, hell yeah. That's pretty sweet.
I think there's some really good stuff in there content wise that I just think is really interesting. Yeah. Not that that's even possible. I feel like getting that license is probably impossible, but that's
that's interesting. I do want to say, while we're here on Metroid, that I don't know about y'all, but does Metroid give you kid version vibes of like Dead Space in a way?
In a way,
she's kind of like like she's investigating different stuff, and
it's. I would say that Metroid, in a lot of ways, is the proto version of a lot of sci-fi video games, right? So I think that's. I think that's what you're picking up on.
Yeah.
I think that a Metroid that it doesn't have to be gritty, but a Metroid that's at least a little bit more adult would be a really good place to go with it. It doesn't have to be hyper violent. It doesn't have to be full of sex or something.
Nope.
As long as it just had thematically, storytelling wise, more adult stuff, which is already kind of there in the games. There's inklings of it. I think you could do something really interesting with it.
Yeah.
I love that I love that you did bring up there's no need for the sex, because Tom Holland has said before, like, nobody wants to see Spider-Man having sex on screen. And I 1000% agree with him. Yeah. It's like you can make stuff quote unquote adult content, but it doesn't mean somebody needs to get their head chopped off, or we need to see somebody having sex or something like that.
I mean, I think it had like violence and sex has its place, make no mistake. I think that like there's always a story reason to have that stuff. And I think that Castlevania playing in a sort of like a horror space kind of makes that stuff kind of get interjected into it pretty easily, which is why we've done it. We've done all that stuff for that reason. But for adult animation specifically, you don't necessarily need it. The important part is like the themes, you know.
Right. Because didn't Powerhouse also do the He-Man Masters of the Universe, right?
We did, yes.
Okay. We were going to bring up when Skeletor kind of had the weird scene. We were like, this is weird. Like, there was no need for this scene to be. It felt weird, you know, and I feel like sometimes
he doesn't have a face
and certain frames
No.
it was weird.
No, I Trav, I totally understand where you're coming.
Yeah.
So I just I want to see a little bit more. Like, I really want to see a Mega Man series that's kind of adult, but I don't want to see Mega Man having sex. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see that.
Weird.
Well, you know, I was just talking with one of my friends because, you know, the big issue last week was Daredevil and She-Hulk having sex, and you know it works for those characters because it's just like, you know, it's even though it's a show that kids can watch, but you know it has adult themes up there. It's an adult comedy, you know, so it works for stuff like that. But go ahead, Adam. I'm sorry for cutting you.
Oh no, I haven't gotten that far in She-Hulk yet. I'm only on episode 3, I think, which I've enjoyed it.
I spoiled it for you. That's what I do.
It was already spoiled because of Twitter. There's like no way to avoid it.
Yeah, but okay, so I let all you guys talk, and I've been wanting to piggyback off of Trav's first thing.
I got two piggybacks.
Yeah, you got two piggybacks because Trav had mentioned crossovers, and I feel like the guys already know where I'm going to be going with this. So. On Castlevania, you know, we already know that that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Anytime
Phantom
he
Blood,
does this with the fingers,
you already know.
Yeah,
you know that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood was inspired by Castlevania, and then in Castlevania, I believe it was season 3. Yeah, it was season 3 when Isaac went to the shop with the old man, and the stone mask from JoJo was in there. And then I remember Netflix had went on Twitter, and they was just like, it would be awesome for there to be a Castlevania and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure crossover. So with that being said, it brings me back to the question I want to ask. Was there ever any talk with David Productions about like doing some sort of crossover? Or was that just something to hype the fans up?
No, I mean, definitely not. No, like that. So the funny story about the mask being there is that Symphony of the Night already had a JoJo's reference in it. The game, like in a certain specific area, you could pick up the Jade mask in there. And so it's kind of like a reference to a reference. You know, that's why we put it in. You know, and now don't get me wrong, I'm a big JoJo's fan. I'm
sort of a JoJo fan. Yeah. Hey, look, I got my Jotaro hat right here on the table. Nice. Now I'm gonna wear it.
That's very, very good.
And it matches the shirt.
You need more hair sticking out the back, though. Unusually.
Oh, well, I have the wig too, but it's over with my Part 6 Jotaro hat. No, look, hey, I just noticed when I don't have my symbols up here, like I look like a train conductor with this hat.
You do, yeah,
you do.
Yeah, Thomas. The Banks train.
The Banks train. Well, that's what I always talk about up here. Everybody's on the Banks train, even though D doesn't like that.
We're not on a train. Traz got the helicopter. And that's all I need.
Bro, we're like the rescue adventures. But Adam, you answered my question. I just always wanted to know because I know Netflix, they asked that, and I'm just like, no, there's no way that they could do that. But me and D, we had the conversation about that. There could be a possibility because of the
y'all have a lot of conversations where I'm excluded, man.
Well, I mean, look, me and D, we on the road all day, and hey,
I'm on the road all day.
Oh, that's right, you are on the road now. Yeah, hey, now we can do the 3-way calls. But D had mentioned because of the infinite corridors, like that it could be a possibility that you could have the JoJo reference, where of course it would be Phantom Blood because it makes the most sense because of the time period that it's in. But one thing that D always used to bring up, which was something that I liked, was that you guys introduced so many more different vampires, because in the video game, you were only just used to that one vampire. Mm-hmm. You know, like they all look the same. And like how you said, Adam, you wanted to have like different shades of skin on the show. You didn't just only want to have like white people on the show. Yeah. And I think that that's very unique in like having like those different, people of color on the show and whatnot, because it's representation as well. But but go ahead.
Oh, I would say that like there were inklings of conversations about crossover specifically because of the the Infinite Corridor, but they didn't go anywhere.
Right.
Is the way I would put it. Yeah.
That sucks. It's just like what movie was that? Not The Conjuring. What is Insidious? It was Insidious 3.
Yeah, Insidious and Sinister. They were
Sinister
talking about
like in the same
they could have
universe.
the crossover. Yeah,
Because
it's the same universe.
Because it's like she went into like this long hallway, and they had multiple doors, and I think she had opened up one of the doors, and you saw
the there after or something like that. The further.
Yeah.
The further. Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
But yeah, Trav or D?
No, I just real quick, because I know we're winding down and getting toward the end, and I know D's gonna have his amazing finished questions, but I just want to randomly insert this question in real quick. Tekken, we were all huge fans of, the series, and I was always a huge fan of the animated movie, 25 years ago or whatever it was.
God, yeah, that was old. Yeah.
96, I think is.
Thanks,
when I could be tripping. It could be like 2000, but it feels 90s.
No, it came out in the 90s, bro.
But how did you feel about that series?
Yeah. Funny enough, and I feel like I need to turn in my FGC card. I haven't seen it yet. Like I haven't watched it. There's been so much dang media out there lately
It's
these
true.
days.
Yeah.
Like House of Dragon, Andor.
I saw you talk about that on Twitter.
Yeah, and then obviously Rings of Power is like the 3 big like.
Those are the 3 I'm watching right now, and I can't really watch anything else.
Yeah,
it's so much stuff, man.
And then on anime, I'm trying to catch up a little bit these days. Like we're caught up on Spy Family, and then
that's a big one right now.
Yeah, I'm caught up on Demon Slayer, Chainsaw.
Chainsaw just dropped.
This came out, so I got to get to that eventually.
It's good, man. It's good.
Yeah, I know. Sam, he was saying it was really good too.
You got Bleach
that
came back.
The what?
Yeah.
Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War.
I know. I keep meaning to watch that too. So there's just been so much stuff. So it's been hard. I started Cyberpunk as well.
I still gotta watch Edge Runners too.
Yeah. Edge Runners is so good, man.
And I'm really enjoying it so
far. And of course, My Hero came back.
Yeah, My Hero back too. There's so much anime.
Fall is loaded.
And then
it's super loaded, yeah.
And then don't forget, you got Chucky season 2. That's the one, and then American Horror Story is about to start.
Interview with a Vampire.
I keep meaning to get to that. Actually, I feel obligated to watch that.
I think it's going to be interesting to actually have something to compare against the original.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I've heard they're doing interesting stuff with it, but I still haven't got to that yet either.
Yeah, me either. You ain't alone.
Me either. Yeah,
people got lives to live.
Exactly. So, Trav, just to let you know, that movie came out in 1997.
Close, Trav.
Yeah, you were close.
Because I remember it was around, Street Fighter 2.
Trav,
era,
like Thanos said, you should have went for the head.
Oh God,
just missed.
It is crazy, man, because that movie came out, and then we ended up getting the live action movie, which wasn't that good.
We don't talk about the live action.
Yeah.
That was not too good.
Yeah, we got that and the Dead or Alive live with Kevin Nash.
Yeah, they did all of them. Yeah, you did Dead or Alive. You know what? Since we were talking about fighting games and whatnot, Adam, I want to ask you, what has been one of your favorite fighting game movies? I'm pretty sure it's Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Street Fighter. I gotta go that Street Fighter. That John Claude.
And Mortal Kombat Annihilation is maybe one of the worst films I've ever seen. But you know what? That moment where Scorpion pops out and grabs Katana and teleports away and says "suckers," is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yo,
that's so good.
Oh my God, it's so watching that movie as a kid, it was fun, but watching it as an adult, it's just like, why did I like this? It's just so bad.
I have no idea.
I don't think it would have been as bad if they couldn't bring back Christopher, not Christopher Lloyd, but is it Christopher Lloyd? What's his last name?
Christopher Lambert.
Christopher Lambert. And then Sonya.
Highlander.
And Sonya. If they could have brought back those people, I feel like it possibly could have been a different movie. But I'm pretty sure they both read the script and they were like, "Yeah, we're good."
They recast anybody who was returning.
Oh no,
it wasn't everybody.
Well,
Katana was the same.
Katana and Liu Kang were the only two.
No,
Katana and Johnny Cage was still there.
No, Johnny Cage was a different actor.
Yeah, Johnny was different.
Yeah,
Katana, he's only in the movie 10 minutes.
I think Katana was the same girl.
No, she was different, I think.
Oh, is she different?
Yeah.
No, he's looking it up.
I'm not gonna lie though, like so the recent Mortal Kombat movie, the modern one that just came out, God,
Yeah.
I thought that was almost really good. Like
It was almost really
It
good.
was. It
the
was.
Scorpion stuff at the beginning was really
good.
actually
Oh,
solid, and
Yeah.
like Sub-Zero being just sort of like horror movie Jason, who's just
Yeah.
like stalking the main character,
Hell
was really
yeah.
cool. I thought the mistake they made was that they force fit that new main character into it.
Yeah.
Like, because I thought it was like so close.
I don't even
It was
remember
actually
his
kinda
name.
cool.
And it was so
Cole.
funny.
Cole.
Me and
Yeah.
Cole. Me and Banks walked into a GameStop or something one day, and we saw the Funko Pop, and we was like, "Bro, who's getting this Cole Funko?"
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
nobody want
it's
no
hard.
Cole
Come
Funko
on.
Pop.
I don't think
so
it would have been
close.
as bad if he wasn't basically shoehorned into the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it really did.
Never before seen. I think if his costume being a descendant of Scorpion, right?
Yeah,
That's
he
what
was
it
a
is. So
descendant of
It
Scorpion.
may, I don't know, maybe have his costume resemble Scorpion's. It
But
coulda
that
But
was
he
helped.
the
didn't
thing,
have
is
a
that, like,
he just had arms.
I know.
Yeah, it
That's
didn't
what I'm saying.
feel
He
connected
looked
to
like a
Scorpion
descendant
at all.
of
Absolutely
Jax.
not.
Like is
Yeah.
that
And then my
Jax's
guy-
cousin? Or?
Bro, when he beat Goro, I was like, huh, for real? This man beat Goro?
And
Also,
but that's
they gave him like Jax's
Plot armor.
power,
yeah.
kinda. It
Yeah.
was weird. Like I was like, come on, that's
Jax
something about
had
this
them
film.
tink arms. I'm just like,
Yeah.
bro. Like that, I thought it was weird that
He called him
that
Tink.
nobody could use their abilities until like they beat somebody in
so,
Mortal Kombat.
yeah, that was weird too.
I'm just like,
They're
Why?
shoehorning some like stuff in to kind of like
Just kinda
it was
hurt.
really strange. Again, like it was like the shell of a good thought was there, and
Yeah.
the first like 30 minutes of that movie ruled. It was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
great, and then I just kind of tapered off from there. Especially the ending, I thought kind of
Scorpion and Sub-Zero definitely carried that movie. I don't
For
care.
sure.
For sure.
They were carried.
100%.
Hey,
Well,
Their
the
fights
guy-
were sweet.
The
They
actor
took-
that
they took my-
plays Scorpion is incredible in everything
Yeah.
he's in.
Yeah,
sure.
he's great.
Uh-huh.
And if you set up the movie around just that stuff,
That would've been
they would have done
perfect.
it. They would
That
have
would've
done
been
it. Yeah.
perfect.
That was the
Hey,
same
look.
guy who was hitting Tom Cruise over the head in Last Samurai. He's the guy.
He's been in a lot. He was in
Yeah,
Rush Hour
yes,
3. He
yeah.
was Jackie Chan's
He's
brother.
been in a lot
and-
of stuff.
yeah.
I know.
Hey, look,
Phenomenal.
when they killed my boy Kung Lao, I was just like, yeah, I'm good, man.
It was
It's
so
like,
Yeah,
quick.
why did they do that? That was so weird.
Yeah, he had no fight really. It was just like, huh?
Yeah,
He
they
got
took
that
him
was
out.
weird. Yeah.
They took
Anyways,
him
you
out.
asked me my favorite, and that's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
hard to
Well,
do.
this is where we snowball, man.
We had to get
snowball.
one in, Banks. We had to
Yeah.
get one in.
I mean, in terms of favorite movies, that's really difficult. But I think that the Street Fighter 2 animated movie is actually still my favorite
Oh,
because
The
man,
re-
that's so
remix?
Classic.
yeah, like if you watch the old original Street Fighter 2 animated movie, it still
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
holds up pretty well. Like
It
it's like
does.
it's got a
It
good sense of
does, yeah.
mood.
Look.
It animates super well. Like yeah, the plot kind of gets lost a little bit here and there, but it's also Street Fighter. Like M. Bice
Yeah.
is going to come out and be corny every single time. It's kind of hard to avoid that. So
Mhm.
And I'll tie this back into Castlevania is what I really love about those mid 90s animes is how good they look, like that
Yeah,
style of
yeah.
animation. And Castlevania kind of gave us that a little bit, except, obviously a little bit more digital, but
Yeah.
it felt more authentic to that style of animation versus a lot of the stuff you get now. And
that I really appreciate hearing that because like it's so funny. That was the thing we were aiming for was like that sort of style of 90s sort of dense line art
X-Men
designs.
the animated series.
Like Lodos War,
Right.
Vampire Hunter D, that kind of stuff. And it was so funny. We had a well-known Japanese writer talk to us at one point. I'll keep his name out of it, but he was telling us about like how he knew one of the Vampire Hunter D directors and designers, and they showed them Castlevania, and they were like they praised it a lot, and that was like one of the big moments where that made us feel really, really good. It was like the stuff that we had harkened back to, we got praise from those guys, which was really nice.
Oh yeah, I mean, Vampire Hunter D. That's a classic throwback. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's high praise. Very high praise.
So
Thanks.
now I'm going to ask my final question since, we are preparing for the Great Turkey War, and then I pass the ball to D. So with the Great Turkey War coming up, Adam, I got to ask you, what is one of your favorite dishes that you love to have during the war?
and is
During
it fish?
Thanksgiving, you mean? Is that what this is about?
You know,
Yes.
it's the Great Turkey War.
The Great
Banks
Turkey
just
War,
expects
Thanksgiving.
everybody to know what the Great Turkey.
I mean, because you got the Great Turkey War, then you got the Great Gingerbread War.
Oh, that's yeah. I think it's stuffing still, like
Yeah.
traditional
Mm.
stuffing, not cornbread stuffing. Although cornbread stuffing's good.
What
I
about the
still like-
sausage stuffing?
that's
Stuffing,
good
the sausage
too.
stuff is pretty solid too, but I still lean towards traditional.
The traditional, the stove top.
Yeah, I don't want no fancy stuff. I just want like the same trash that my mom served me. Years ago. Same for cranberry sauce, by the way. I don't want the nice cranberry sauce, the pecans in it, or none of that stuff. I want
no raisins, no nothing.
You just want stuff the slides out of the can.
I've never been in the cranberry sauce. My mom would take that can out, slop that cranberry, cut it up.
You messing
good. No, thank you.
Delish.
Bro, so when it came to stuffing, it's like you could buy that and like it would last until like the next year or so.
That's what you want too.
Right.
Yeah. But I remember going back when I was a young Banks, my mom had like 4 boxes of stuffing up in the cabinet.
Yeah, we were eating it a lot.
Man, I came home from school one day and like I poured all 4 of them into the pan and then I ate that entire bowl, right? And I remember when Thanksgiving came around the following year.
Who eats 4 boxes of stuffing?
Bro, I mean, because stuffing is good.
I know, but really 4 boxes of stuffing?
Bro,
you can eat it by itself, and it's also really filling.
It is, man. And I ate all 4 of them boxes, and I had no shame in it. And I remember the following year, my mom, she went looking for them boxes, and I don't know what happened to them. I don't know.
Well, hold on. I got a question for you guys though. So, in terms of Thanksgiving pies, what's the tiering of pie in your opinions?
All right, I'm gonna take this one first.
Okay.
Go for it.
I gotta go with pumpkin because to me, pumpkin is just a season thing. Like, I don't want to see pumpkin in January. I don't want to see pumpkin in August. Only November, December, but
I feel that
there's something about apple pie, cobbler that I can never shake with a scoop of vanilla ice cream on top. You know,
classic, easy classic.
It's just easy. It's so good, you know. So if I'm gonna say anything, it's apple.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna rock with the apple myself. I'll take any of them. Sweet potato, pumpkin, apple. Very festive.
What's that triple berry one?
I have no
idea. What is
that
pie called? I don't know why I always forget the name of that pie. It has a specific name.
I know. Is it mixed berry?
It's something berry. It's not mixed berry, but it's got the berries with the nuts. It's with the cherries with the nuts in it, and you got to spit out the seeds. And I'm like, I'm
not doing all of that.
That's too much work for me.
Look, how much health do you get back from eating?
It's called triple berry pie. That's what it's called. Raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries.
That sounds like some.
It's fine, but it's not the same as the classics, I don't think.
Oh, for sure. So for me, I'm piggybacking off of you guys, and I like to go with the apple pie, but just not the regular apple pie. I like going with the Dutch apple pie because you get the crumbs up there. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So that's my thing right there.
Yeah, I'm pumpkin, I think, but it is a close one with apple for sure. Very traditionalist about my pies.
Now let me ask y'all: do y'all like whipped cream or Cool Whip?
I mean, look, whipped cream if you can get it, but I'm not gonna say no to Cool Whip, right?
Dude, it's always been about Cool Whip for me.
All right.
So look, right, since we talking about pie, I was at the gym earlier. And one of my friends, she had came up to me and whatnot because she hasn't been to the gym in a while.
Where's this conversation going?
And because just hear it out. Hey, your boy's full of stories.
It was PG at the very top.
Call me
PG podcast, sir.
Call me story time bank. So she was like, yeah. So what type of pie are you gonna give me? And like something went off in my brain.
Yeah,
I was thinking about the rock. I was like, some of that food pie, daddy. That's what I was thinking, but I didn't say that because it's just.
Why'd she ask you what kind of pie you're giving?
Yeah, what the hell?
Because I told her
there's no backstory or anything.
I told her I was going to give her some pie, and then
that's a weird thing to say to somebody
and then she was just like, well, what type of pie was I going to give her? And I was like, I'm going to give you a pecan pie. And then she was like, oh, okay. Then she was like, well, what type of pie do you like? And, that's...
Trav, this is his problem.
I love pecan pie.
I never got into pecan pie. I know that's one of my mom's favorites.
I do not like it, bro.
But I do not like it neither.
I used to hate it, and then I just came around to it for no reason. I'm not sure.
No, you fell to the dark side. You gave it.
Yeah, I did. It's delicious. It's so crunchy.
Oh my god, my mom used to get mad when I would eat her ice cream because I would spit all the pecans out and I'll just eat it, but it still has that taste. But D, I'm passing the ball to you.
Yeah, that's
Story
right.
time with Benjamin Banks is over, and I see that
Right.
you're ready. I knew you was about to come
All
at
right,
me.
Adam here. No, man. I'm just
He's
hey,
gonna rip the shirt
Captain,
open.
I'm just chilling. Man. Adam, 2 wrap-up questions. We're here at the end. First question: favorite 80s or 90s movie, or both if you have one of each. That's question 1.
Favorite film, favorite 80s film is
80s?
probably Alien.
Nice.
Easy. That's
Ridley
easy.
Scott's my favorite
Yeah.
director of all time.
Phenomenal practical effects. Holds up
Mhm.
now.
So you like Alien more than Aliens?
I love both, and for
Right.
different
Mm.
reasons, but they're both.
Well, actually,
good.
I think Alien came out in 1979.
Oh, was it 79?
Yeah.
All right.
So
If
you
that's
could
the
say
case,
Aliens.
I'll follow that up with Aliens then if that's the case.
Okay. Hell yeah.
It's easy follow up. I think Aliens is one of the best action films of all time.
Mhm.
It's just fun from start to finish, and
And
it
it still
still
holds
keeps the
up.
horror. And it looks great. And then
Yeah.
Alien is still probably the best horror movie of all time in terms of just being a
Mm.
pure horror movie.
Now, the way Alien is kind of done the suspense and they don't know, that's kind of how I would like a Metroid live action to be. If there was
Absolutely.
ever, like very just like that. you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Except she's got a badass cannon on her arm. You know what I'm saying?
Badass
Like,
cannon on her.
She's allowed to be cooler when
Yes.
the moment strikes her.
Oh,
Right,
right.
yeah.
That
She's
armor
got,
would look so.
Yeah. She's got the background and gear.
Especially if she's like a rookie, you know, she's coming into the field. She's on her first like big space police journey type.
Yeah.
thing. Like,
It could be very.
Look,
very
we're writing the story right now.
Yeah. Hey. Okay. And did you have a 90s, or you want me to go ahead with the second question?
Go ahead and go with the second question.
Okay. here we
Hold
go.
on. I want
for
to
it.
interject and say, what's your favorite animated movie then? Since we're all such
my
animators.
God, that's too
Yeah.
that's too hard. I could be here
That's
for an
what she
hour
said.
thinking about this.
Just say Ninja Scroll.
No,
Classic.
Yeah, he was just wandering around killing people.
I
Easy
think
movie.
I think my favorite might be Nausicaä in the Valley of the Wind,
Mm.
but
Ooh, I
I'd
finally
say-
watched that this year.
easy tie with Porco Rosso though.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the easy way out and doing Hayao Miyazaki stuff.
Hey.
I mean, hey, it happens.
Hey.
Somebody had to do it. Second question. Growing up, was there anything that spooked you, scared you, and stayed with you? Whether it was a lullaby, something that made a creepy shadow at night,
Grogu in the
doll.
background just staring ominously.
Hey,
right
he's
there.
only scared to them space frogs, homeboy, because when they see Grogu gonna eat them up.
So wait, are you saying like something that I've experienced in life that's
Correct.
creepy?
Was there
Okay.
whatever it was? Whatever
Oh
it
man,
was.
that's so hard. I don't tend to get spooked in life very easily.
Was there anything that was very eerie to you that stayed with you? Doesn't have to,
It's all my experiences with that kind of stuff has always been so much lamer than that. I will say that I had a great story about a time where
There you
I
go.
was having some I was having a lot of insomnia, and I took Ambien for the first time.
Oh,
It was
wow.
about 15
I'm too
years
scared
ago.
to take that stuff, man. I read too many stories.
And I remember taking it, and I thought I fell asleep, and then I woke up, and I don't remember every detail of what I said when I woke up, but I
Mhm.
apparently texted a friend and told him that I was seeing gnomes, vampires, and that there was a vampire hanging off my door talking with me, and it was
Right.
all in text form. And I woke up, and I had a wall of text waiting for me about how from just him going, "What the hell happened last night?"
I'm
And I
seeing
don't remember.
gnomes. I love that.
Yeah. So I don't know what I saw on Ambien that night, but I guess that's a little spooky.
That's so
Yeah,
good.
it is.
You had a Nightmare on Elm Street moment.
I guess
Uh-huh.
I did. Yeah.
Thought you fell asleep?
Here's
Yeah.
your big break. All right, back to you, Captain.
All right, yeah. So we're here at the end of the interview, and Adam, thank you very much for joining us
Absolutely.
on a special episode as we go into the Great Turkey War. And I hope that you survive the Great Turkey War, because either you survive it or you don't.
The Great
and if
Stuff in War.
And then if you survive it, then you got to prepare for the Great Gingerbread War, because that one's even more intense. So thank you again. And before we let you go, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you at.
My name is Adam Deats, and I am. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Deats. And keep your eyes peeled for more Castlevania Nocturne news in the future.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. And Trav, let everybody know where they can find you at.
You know you can find me on the Instagram at ZK Audio. I'm on the Twitter at TRAVIOSZK, where I'm also on Letterboxd, ranking and rating my daily movie watches. And D, Grogu got your back. Where they gonna find you at?
You can find me as always at rebellious_D23 at Instagram.com. And Banks, if they need a hero, where can they find one?
Well, you can find me, your hero Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you again, Adam, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for watching this interview. Y'all stay safe.
Right.
Keep that pinky up. Stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.